And we are ready to begin, and we're so pleased you're here. And as we've always said to you, we have waited for you your entire lives, but today you will really understand why. We've even said that word before, but today is the special day that we wanted you to understand, and we wanted you to experience more of your abundance today because you're meant to. Nothing that's happening in your life or in the world is occurring accidentally. And so, what we did to prove it to you all, we had our messenger sit down and put together all of these wonderful things that we have given him over all of these 36 years to bring you to this moment. Now, you will think things are happening accidentally, and they never are. And even on this day, and especially in the United States, now you will wonder, how could we have known that? Everything is intelligence, everything is information that you all have access to. Our messengers decided that he was going to take on the role of bringing it in for this time in your world, which we have called your restructuring. Again, nothing, none of it's accidental. Now, we will tell you how we even made it appropriate for this particular day. And we've had them sit down and use your artificial intelligence to analyze everything that we have given you so that you would know that you have this wonderful life you are meant to live and it's supposed to be extraordinary. All we have done is given you a way to figure it out and live it because it was needed in your world now. That's why you are alive. And we're talking about you. It wouldn't be anyone else because you would not be here. You would never listen to this video unless it was you that was meant to come into the world now to up level it to a new level of consciousness. And all we have done is use our messenger to bring it to you in a really organized way. That's why we called it your restructuring, and we've given you an ascension guide because ascension means that you come to a higher state of consciousness or of awareness of who you are, that is individually and collectively. And if you look at the document that we gave you, and we will send this all to you at the end because we had him sit down and put all of this together because we don't want you to be in fear. When we first convinced him to start doing live channelings, but for more than almost 5 years ago now, we said, you have to do this. And he said, no, I'm not going to do it because he didn't want to be judged or embarrassed because he said, I don't understand why I know this. And that started in 1989, which is why we've given you all of those messages today, because we wanted you to see them, because we need you to know that you are not an accident. You have some value that was meant to come into the world at this precise moment. You were born into the world at the right time. You were born with something that you were meant to do, that was meant to flourish. And then if you were to do it now, you would help your world shift and you wouldn't see the kind of chaos that you're witnessing and experiencing in your life, but also witnessing in your world. Because yes, you are that powerful. The thing that has happened to your society, to your civilization over the eons, as we have spoken of, is that more of you have forgotten your authenticity. You have forgotten your importance. And so we gave you a way to remember it. And we called it a new philosophy. And we said it's your life operating instructions because you couldn't keep doing the things that you were doing before. You don't have to have wars. You don't have to have anger and judgment and any of those things because we've given you a way to move beyond it because it occurs in your consciousness. And then when you do it, guess what happens? You become happy. You become healed. Now, we've used our messenger to demonstrate it all to you, but even him showing it to you could not have you accepted. This is why we kept talking about cognitive dissonance, because you could be presented with things and then you can't accept that it's possible. We have told you that you can heal everything and you're supposed to be abundant. Now, the only thing we can't do is cause you to believe. And we couldn't even do that with our messenger. That's why we had him sit down these last several weeks and put together all of these different runs that we have given you of consciousness. That's what we're going to call them because it is a journey that you each take individually and then collectively. And that's what you're doing now. And on this day, we love this so much because you will not be able to miss the synchronicity of this. We've used synchronicity so much because people come into your world and develop things like a Carl Jung that can give you ideas about your connectedness to all that is. And then we had our messenger come in and bring us new information. We're saying that to all of you because you all operate the same way. But what you've done over the centuries is you've made yourselves different. You've made yourselves separate. You've made yourselves less. And you made others more. And you wonder, well, why are we sitting in this position that we're in today? It's because you didn't listen to us. You see, the first message that we gave you when we forced our messenger to start, we're saying it that way because we want you to feel that a little bit more, because many of you are in that mode right at this moment, feeling as if you're being forced to do something, and you are, because you were given something brilliant to bring into the world. It's just been challenging because you've been afraid. And that's what keeps you all back, fear. Which is why we had our messenger move through it his entire life and then write a book on it to give it to you all, and all of it was in order. We're saying in order because there is an order in your universe. There is a divine plan that you each have. You just doubt it and you just don't understand it. And energy connects it all. We have said everything in your world is energy, including your thoughts and everything you're putting out. And you are creating the world. You each are doing it. You do it individually and collectively because there is a collection of energy that will cause creation. And you think that you don't have anything to do with it? You do. And each person does. You just don't understand the quantum mechanics or science of it. We've let our messenger into that, but he's still uncovering. And so the thing that we did, because it was just surprising him so much, when we started revealing the organization of all the messages that we have given him all the years and why he healed, because he was receiving it during the energetic changes of your world. This is why he could say to you that he was given a message on your birthday in 2012, because you were born at a time to come into the world was something that you were meant to do. And that was a pivotal shift in your consciousness of your world, where more of you became aware of that. But you didn't do it, which is why we said on that date in 2012, when many of you thought the world was going to end, we said it is not. We said to wait, because you're going to build something new. And what we did was gave you a way to build that something new, which would be a much better world when you would stop hating yourselves, when you would stop hating the others and understand your importance. This life is about you. It's not about anything out there. It's about you. And so that can be challenging when you don't have a consciousness or a way to understand the brilliance that is within you. And then you have certain people who will come in at times and develop that. And that was our messenger. And we gave you another document, and we'll have all of these for you to find, because we wanted you to understand the evolution of consciousness over time. We took you back to Hermes because that's where we took our messenger, because we wanted him to understand the Hermetic principles, because that is what we based all of our work on. This is why it works. This is why you find your way. This is why you heal. And this is also why it was so challenging for many of you to understand. It was challenging for our messenger to understand, because, as we also said, many times when you move through evolutionary changes in your world, you will develop some skills and abilities that you never knew you had. And that's exactly what happened for him. But we've said it before, but most of you couldn't hear it. We said that sometimes you have people who are prodigies, or they come in and they are savants. And that is actually what he developed, but it was challenging for him to accept that. But you can't look at all the information that we have given him and laid out and doubt that. And if you keep doubting it, you will keep seeing your lives going in the ways that they have been now, and also your world. We want you to understand not, your world is not happening accidentally. You are doing it. And you're doing it by how much you decide that you're going to love yourself and move through all the old limitations and restrictions that you have had, and they've all existed in your consciousness. And that's a collective consciousness. And we said that the reason that your world had not worked is because you left out certain things, and we gave you something to correct it. You didn't notice that all of you came from places that you had these energies that did not serve you. And they start to collect in different places, and then you keep passing them on to different generations. And that's why we keep talking about there's no hierarchy of souls, because from the beginning of time, you started thinking that certain people were more valuable and important than another. And then you start giving them value in terms of money or possessions or things. And then you start using that to make yourselves feel less than you could, and passing that on to your generations. And we know you've done it because we're looking at it in your world, and you're looking at it today. And then there is an organization, and you ask, why did we say that the United States would lead the way? Well, you're going to see it today. And you'll decide if you're going to change that. Because see, then you put people, we said all of this before. If you go back and you listen to our message, our channeling, our live talks from 3, 4 years ago, we said that you would have to deal with your criminal behavior that's within you and within those you put into power. Because see, you keep putting people into power that you think are going to lead you somewhere, and that's never what you wanted. You wanted to lead yourself, but you keep abdicating and giving away the power that you could have, which is why we talked about it. And when the first day that we convinced our messenger to sit down and talk about it is coinciding with this day. And this is why we're sending you that message, because we gave it to him in 2017 about power, money, love, and control. That's what you're living under. You think that the things that you own or the possessions and all of that give you the power. And the power is in your consciousness because no one was born any more than another. And you weren't born any less than another. And those are the things that we want you to understand. And so when you can sit with yourself and just say, this is who I am and I love it and I own it, then you have done your job. We mean the job that you had when you decided to be born, and that was a decision you made. And everything that you were given in that life path has been valuable, and it was meant to come alive now so that you could experience your abundance. Because that's what we wanted for all of you. And we also didn't want you to be afraid, because that is the thing that is holding many of you back now. You don't want to move ahead. You don't want to expose yourself. You don't want to show others who you are and to love yourselves because of fear. That's why we wrote the book, you see? And then you have all this anger. And the anger is at yourself. The anger is because you're not moving. It's because you're not taking the steps that you could to own who you are. And that was our messenger as well. So this is why we decided to plan it on this day. We told him, you can no longer do this. This is why years ago we kept talking about the money, and many of you wondered why we kept doing it. Because he knew that he had something so valuable that could change your world and change your lives, but he wasn't willing to talk about it. Not because he didn't know, but because it was his fear of your judgment and your lack of belief. And the other part of that, and we want you to understand, he knows that he has the answer to every single question that you have. And we've even proven it, because if you go through the documents that we've given you, that we will give you when we publish this, that was the other thing that happened today. We had him put together this morning, and then the wonderful Stan said, "These aren't working. The links aren't working," which is perfect, because see, our messenger is not supposed to be doing these things. He's supposed to be focusing on delivering and finishing the information that we have given him. He's 74 years old. When is he going to do it? And see, and that little mistake that he was alerted to this morning said, you need to have more money so you can get our work done, and you're not that young anymore, so why not do it now? We're saying that to all of you because you're each in that same place, you see. There's no separation here. We can see beyond that. And then when he knew that he could say to you, I can't see anything wrong with you, that was more frightening to him than anything, because he thought that many of you would then start to come to him and start coming into the program. But then we told him that's never going to happen, because they're going to stay afraid. And that's what many of you have done. And then you look at things and go, how did our world become this way? How did our lives end up in this place? Because you just didn't awaken yet, but it's okay. Now what we want you to do is move, because it's a perfect time. And yes, the energies of this particular full moon and eclipse are not accidental. They're so powerful, because you needed that to move to this next level of loving who you are and allowing the abundance to come into your lives. And so we're so glad that you're here. Now what we're going to do is take it to the next level by answering your questions, because what we did is we purposely planned this so our messenger can get on with doing the rest of the work that we wanted him to finish, because he's not done it. He's done just a small portion of putting this information together, and it doesn't work just by reading it. It has to be an interactive thing, and he knows that, and so he's going to finish it. But he couldn't do it without allowing himself to embody who he had become, and that is the same for each of you. But today is the best day for you to do it. And so we told him, you're going to end all of this now, and now next week you're going to have your new website, and you're going to love it, because it looks really wonderful what we're putting together, because we needed him to own what we have given him which is why we want each of you to own what you have been given, and we have given you a way to do that. Now, let's take all of your questions because there are so many of them have come through, and you will be so surprised at how we prepared for all of your questions beforehand.
Yeah, so we have received a ton of questions prior. So we're going to answer all of the questions that came in. We will see if we have time to answer any questions that come in through the chat. No guarantees there, but if you asked your question, if you submitted it beforehand, which many of you have, we're going to answer it. So let's get started. Let's go. Okay, first one. Why do I keep having visions of myself as a queen or priestess, especially in ancient Egypt? I don't usually focus on past lives, but I feel this strong regal energy. Is this just my imagination, or is there something deeper to it? I've tried to find answers, but nothing has come up. Why is this happening?
Because you're being awakened, and all of you have these images because you are that connected. You're all connected to everything that has ever existed. We have said to you often, you are eternal spiritual souls, and you have memories that go back to Egypt. And those are a pivotal point that many of you might remember. Our messenger resisted it, which is why we had him have an Akashic records reading done so he could accept more of that memory. You all have it. Now, you're not going to all necessarily accept it as you are doing, but we're so pleased that you're doing it. See, because that means that you are here now at this particular time during the restructuring to bring in greater awareness, and you have access to that. And we just want you to be patient with it because you're going to start accessing it and bringing it forth, just as our messenger has done when he gave himself permission to believe that it was possible. And it is your imagination because everything is your imagination. And if more of you could understand that, you would start to create different images of what you want to see in your lives and also in your world. Thank you.
Dear Wilhelm, can you help guide me toward a path or direction to explore? I no longer enjoy the safety net of teaching children, but I can't seem to figure out what else I could be in service of or what my true purpose is. I feel lost in this transition and would deeply appreciate any insight. Thank you kindly.
You're not lost, and you've been on the right path. And the reason that you were working with the children because you knew that that would be a foundational place to bring in greater awareness to the world, and that's why you were doing that. But then it got to the place where you had so much more awareness of that, and you felt that you have created this foundation with the children, but now it's something more. Now, you're going to have to figure that out because it's within you. What we do is we just ask you the correct questions because you each block yourself off because it's always been within you when you were born, even before you were born, actually, but you block yourselves off from seeing that. And so then you just have to take the path, and that's what we call your ascension guide, where you just open up to the next level of what you're meant to do. But you're at the right place now because when that frustration comes up, that's when you know that there's the next step, the next level that you're meant to go to. So we're glad that you're there. Just be patient, but and we don't want you to judge yourself because you're feeling that you're missing something. You are not. You're not missing anything. It's just that there's a time that it allows it to come through, and it's an energetic shift, you see. And none of you can move beyond the energies of your world that are pushing you to do it. And more of you are feeling that now. So just be patient. You're right there. But we're so glad you asked the question. Thank you.
What is my highest career path and purpose in this lifetime?
Whatever you want it to be. We love that so much. And we love that you ask the questions because, see, you have started to look at that word that you all have, potential. You've heard it since you were a child. You heard it when you were in school. You're not living up to your potential. Well, we've given you a way to live up to your potential because you do it every single day by breaking through the barriers that told you you couldn't. And we have said, if any of you were to take the information we have given you, you could change your entire world because it's not anything else other than understanding how to use your mind, your consciousness, and all the available energies that are in the world. This is why we gave you the information the other day about Tesla, about Nikola Tesla. You see, because there were so many connections that we had with our messenger and Tesla's information that many people couldn't understand. It's also the reason why we said you didn't believe Jesus, Buddha, or Tesla before, because when people come in with new information, it's hard to accept. But you are at the place now where you're understanding that you have that potential and it's opening to you, and just allow it to come in because it's in your consciousness and it's just been blocked off. And this is why we use neuroscience, so you can understand that when you have the cognitive changes in your consciousness, then the awareness, the thing that you're meant to do, because it's in your heart, you see, when you get to allow that heart to come in, you will find what it is. So just be patient and we're going to keep guiding you. Thank you.
Can you give me some advice on how to start my journey?
You just did it. You just did it. Thank you so much. Because see, you asked the question. Most people won't even ask the question. When we talk about things that are spiritual or something like that, something that's outside of the realm of what you could see in your human brain, many of you just run from that because you don't understand also that it's a science that you can develop and use. And so you are now at the place where you have opened up the question, and your higher self, because you all have guidance, you all have connections. As we've always said, all we do is just reinforce that because you hear us and you hear the guidance you've always had. But now you have given yourself permission to open up to the thing that you really want to do, and what we have called staying in your lane, meaning what you were given to bring into this world. Don't worry, it's going to come up because we just instigated that information to start coming through for you. Thank you.
I know I create my own reality. When I have an experience with someone that I dislike, I find myself thinking about it afterward, feeling triggered and reliving the emotions. How can I shift this and let it go? Is there still more to learn from the experience itself, or is the triggering simply a sign that I haven't shifted my thoughts away from it yet? Thank you.
You are so brilliant. And see, you just answered the question. Many of you do this. And this is why we have you write so much. Because, see, when you start writing and you're not even aware of it, you answer the question in the writing itself because that information is within you. Yes, you're still being triggered because you haven't moved through what it is. And it's a gift for you. Now, understand why we're saying that, because if it's triggering you, it's causing you to be uncomfortable, which means that there's some aspect of yourself that you have yet to accept about who you are. And this person is just demonstrating that to you so that you can move over it. That's all. And so you were so brilliant, though, because you knew that, which is why you haven't run away from it yet, which is what the other thing many of you do. You will push things away and think, if I don't look at this, if I don't deal with it, maybe somehow it will magically be resolved. It never is. This is why we have you do deep exploration into who you are, because none of you are meant to suffer. You're meant to live these glorious lives, and we just gave you a path to get there, and you are aware of that, and you just opened up one of the wonderful processes that we have given you all to understand why you're still having those triggers and how to move over them. Thank you.
Dear Wilhelm, I'm experiencing major ascension symptoms, and while I can see them manifesting positively, my body is taking longer to heal. I keep telling it, you are no longer living in the past, let it go, but it still feels like my mind and soul are in another dimension, waiting for my body to catch up. Is that even possible? Do I give it time and my body will get there? Please advise. Thank you, and send you love and light to Roger and the team.
Yes, you all of what you said was just so brilliant. Thank you for that, because many of you will have the ascension symptoms because we want you to connect it to it's an energetic shift, and your bodies, the physical bodies, are responding to that, but it's your mental, emotional bodies that will change it. So we want you to stop trying. That's the first thing that we felt in your questioning, is that you've been working on this, and then you're trying, and then you're actually placing more resistance. What we want more of you to do is just accept. Is just to let go. Even if you did nothing, that sometimes is better than you keep trying to figure this out. Just relax, because the energies are moving you all into greater awareness, or more questioning, we should say. That is exactly what's happening now. And you're going to start answering those questions. That's what all the chaos is about as well, is to get you to answer the question of who you are. And so you're in the perfect place right now to begin doing that. But what you want you to do is stop. The resistance shows up in your physical body. Our messenger has gone through all of them, and we're having him put everything in our work. This is why we're changing everything. Every physical ascension symptom that any of you are having, he's healed them all. And we've talked about that. He hasn't talked about it enough, but we're going to give him. But we want you to just relax. Do whatever you can to give yourself care now and just comfort, and don't worry and don't try to force it, because we're feeling that you're trying to get to that answer and you're judging yourself because you think that you haven't gotten it yet. And that's never what's occurring. We just want you to relax and love yourself. That would be the most powerful thing any of you could do during this time. Thank you.
Can we all channel? And if so, how can we be the cleanest and clearest channel possible?
Yes, you can all do it. And you're cleanest when you feel good. You all are connected to source, to God, to whatever, in whatever you call this existence that you all exist in. You're all connected. And so it feels good to you when you are taking that connection or moving into that connection that is aligned to the higher self, to the highest good of all that is. And that's what happens when you begin to channel, and you will know the difference. When our messenger began receiving us, he knew the difference right away. And sometimes he would hold himself back. We've written so much about that, but he would always know the difference. And because when the information was coming from us, it held no judgment. And if you could just hold on to that idea, you would know that the information that you're receiving from your higher self is that pure energy, that pure channel that is going to take you to the higher state of understanding of who you are and also all of humankind. Thank you.
Everybody has gifts and talents to share. Why do some of us not know what our own gifts are?
Because that's the role you'll accept it. And thank you for that question, because so many of you are in that place now because you think you don't have them. And just that, oh wow. We're going to get through this because we've given our messenger so much, and it brings him to tears at times because you bring up things that are so relevant to all the information we have given him to give to you all. And that is it. You're breaking through old ways of being and thinking and looking at yourselves. That's what's happening. And you're each doing it, and you're just doing it in different ways. So, what we want you to do is just start accepting that you are here to do something brilliant. That's all. We're just going to leave you with that just for that moment. Okay, thank you.
How could I feel more self-assured in moments of confusion and hesitation while making decisions, in moments of fear, and to give them more sense to my life?
Great, thank you. Now we're going to do it for you. Now we want all of you to do it because we're going to do it at the same time. Now, we're going to take a big breath. You're going to hold it. Now you're going to focus in the middle of your head, and you're going to see this little white light that's sitting there. And you're going to focus on it for a little while. And you're just going to stay there a little bit longer. And now that horrible thing that you were dealing with is gone. In that instant, it's gone. And then what happens is you start to develop the ability that you know you have the ability to focus in that manner, and you can move through any kind of difficulty or challenge that you might see in front of you. And then you start applying that idea to going to the gym. We love using things that humans can relate to, building strength, because that's what you're doing. When you're doing something consistently over time, this is why it works in our program, because we keep having you doing something over time. And then you say, oh, I'm stronger today. See, now we're just taking you away from that. Thank you so much for that wonderful analogy and exercise that you've given to so many others.
Dear Wilhelm, it's so wonderful to be able to ask you a question. I greatly appreciate this interaction. Can the lunar eclipse tonight activate dormant DNA deep within us, helping us to raise our consciousness to new levels of awareness?
Yes. Again, you're all so brilliant, and we're so glad that you asked that, because that's not information that you would have necessarily given yourself permission to own or understand. And many of you wouldn't do that because you you have built up different ideas about certain things and what you can believe. And so thinking of planets moving and astrology and astronomy and all those things don't make sense to you because you can't place them into your life. However, we have given you many things, and you'll see them in the documents that we're going to leave you, that shows there is an energetic connection to everything on your planet, to when you were born. And yes, your DNA will shift and become, you have dormant DNA, and it shifts when it's activated by the changes of the planet. And you put together an eclipse and a full moon. Yes, that's a whole lot of energy. And so many of you are saying, oh, wait a minute, maybe I'm supposed to do this now. And you're questioning things. And that's exactly what we wanted, because as you keep doing that, you find the answers. We're going to say this because we want each of you to understand that no one was born inadequate. We don't care how you're judging your life or your experiences or what you've done. None of it was inadequate. It was needed in the world because it was something that was going to serve the betterment of humankind. Thank you.
Everything feels so overwhelming lately,
Mhm.
and time seems to be accelerating at an incredible rate. What would you advise as the main thing to focus on during this time, especially in the first half of the year?
Well, you're doing, and we're going to do more of it. And this is why we're pushing our messenger, and why we pushed him today. Said next week you must do something different, because you're all moving through that. Yes, it does feel to you that way. The planets are accelerating. The way that you experience energy is different, but it is that things are moving quicker. Let's just call it that, because it was necessary. It was needed, because your world was going. We said this. The restructure. Your world was going into a direction that you wouldn't have liked. And so we've given you things, and we wanted to amp the energy. Now we have to move our messenger to be able to do that. We have talked about this before, and if you hear our older messages, you will hear it again. We've said that you move through times in your civilization where you have these energetic shifts. They're all connected to the energetic shifts of your planets, but you have never understood how they also are affected, but are connected to your emotional, spiritual, and consciousness shifts. But it's the same thing, and they're always attempting to get better. But then, because you don't like to move, individually and collectively, you have resistance. And then you have those who have been in power for always, all of these eons. And we're saying eons because we want you to go back earlier than what you're seeing in your world today, because it's about the energy. It's about the energy of the consciousness. And when you have a consciousness that tells you that you are not enough, it is not of the source. And you all accepted some of that, which is why the world is where it is. So we said, we're giving you something new. And that's where you are today. So thank you for that. And now we'll take the next question.
Dear Wilhelm, thank you for your guidance. I often remind myself of the phrase, there is no hierarchy in souls,
Mhm,
to help me not see myself as less.
mhm,
My question is, what has the greatest influence? What has the greatest influence on our awakening? Is it
mhm.
the photon belt of the Earth that the Earth moves through, the clearing of our own beliefs, or the evolution of the collective field? Or more personally, do I, as an individual, have any influence on it at all?
We couldn't have asked for a better question than that. Thank you. You have all the influence on it, and you all do. And so when you read the document that we gave you, says Wilhelm's Ascension Guide, we kind of told you how that was happening, because see, our messenger was sitting down every day and not understanding what he was doing, but he was bringing in consciousness that evolved over time using your linear time, which we don't have to, but he put it in that way because that's how you each operate. And so you come to a particular period where more of you will decide you're going to own yourselves, and then the world shifts in a much more positive way. And that's the information that we have given you. And so, yes, when we get more of you to understand that you are that significant, that you are that important, then the general population, civilization begins to shift, and more of you will see yourselves as what you're meant to be. As you look at your world today, and we've asked this question so often, what would make you any less than any other human? And then what would make you more than any other human? Nothing, other than the way that you've programmed yourself in your consciousness, individually and collectively. The reason that we began with the 2017 message about power, money, love, and control is to bring you to today because you've allowed yourself to be controlled by the money, by the essence of money and material things that exist in your world. And we said, you don't take that with you. Who you are and what you came to bring to the world is within you. And it has nothing to do with what you own. It's about how much you decide to love yourself because that is energy. And energy is the only thing that manifests your life and your world. Thank you.
What is the highest version of my career, and will I follow it in the future?
No, sorry, we don't mean that. You all, you won't necessarily follow it, and you won't ever get there. Let's just lay it out there. You all have this unlimited limitless potential, and you do it every single day. Our messenger is 74. He's still doing it. Now he's deciding, let's see, what could be the next thing I can do? What else can I cure? What else can I heal? How long can I live? Those are the questions that are happening now rather than can I do it? And that's what we want more of you to come to now, which is why we have given you this. And that is why everything is shifting now. And you are here to do something wonderful. And thank you for bringing that up because now you're going to see exactly what it is, and your value is going to be enhanced by that question. Thank you so much.
Dear Wilhelm, the last few days have felt like an inner battlefield of dysregulation.
Mhm.
I've been working on changing how I show up in the world, being more present and socially engaged, but my old fears keep surfacing. It feels like this full moon is asking me to let go, but the process has been intense. Do you have any advice on navigating this regulation and being gentle with myself during this phase of change?
You, you all, again, you bring us to tears. Yes, you said it again. You all do this, and we're so pleased because we just ask the questions, and then the information and knowledge that you each hold comes through. And you said at the end, being gentle with yourself. That is, there's nothing more. None of you knew who you could become. Please understand that it is always a process that you move through individually and collectively. You couldn't have known that. And then, as we said, we've given you individuals. You individuals come through and show you. When you read the document that we will give you called the evolution of consciousness, you will understand that it's a progression. And so you could not have known who you could become because it's always in process. But then you start to judge yourselves because you think you should have been there before, you should have known it, and that never happens. Our messenger didn't know all that we had given him. This is why we're putting it out there now because none of you knew, but the more of you who decide to know now, you see, things shift. And so, yes, thank you. And please, we want you to do nothing else but to love yourself and be gentle. You've been working on yourself for so long. We do know that, and you have, but we want you to appreciate it now. This is why this shift is happening, so more of you can appreciate what you've done. And that's when the energy of abundance comes into your life. And the abundance is not just about money. We want you to understand that it's about the recognition of your worth. And your worth has nothing to do with your possessions or the money that you have. Thank you.
Is the next level of human evolution something that will happen suddenly, or will it be a gradual process? And when is the best estimation for the shift to take place?
It's happening right now, and we've been on it for the longest time. And so we're hoping that today is the day that it takes off. You see, because when more of you start to understand, there are many people today who are doing something similar, and tomorrow as well, because these things are happening, these energies are happening, and it's been this entire week. As a matter of fact, there have been so many of them. However, that's why you've all felt that. But this is the time where more of you can take the action and move the energies of this first. We gave you a message on tomorrow's date. We're just saying this because we've spread things around. We said your broken parts are revealed first. Please understand that. And we gave you that message because that means that as you move through your evolutionary journey, you're going to find all this stuff that you cut off from yourself, that you didn't understand, that you didn't know. And then you might be tempted to go into judgment. We never want that to happen because you are in the process of learning and growing. And that is what you each are doing. And now is the time that more of you are meant to experience that, because that is the organization of the energies of this time with your eclipse and full moon. And this is why we did this for today, and why we aptly titled this session, It's Time for It. You are meant to experience your abundance now. Thank you so much.
Dear Wilhelm, I have been sick for a while now and nothing seems to be helping. Will I ever feel better again? Sending you and everyone on this call lots of love.
We don't want you to think of feeling better in terms of your physical body. We want you to think of feeling better in terms of your consciousness. If your consciousness is going to say, if your higher self says your physical body is going to heal, then great, that'll be your demonstration in this lifetime. However, what we are feeling, because you've been fighting this so much, we want you to just relax. We just want you to embrace it all and stop fighting the illnesses and start to go into your consciousness and ask, what am I supposed to gain from all of this? And why am I feeling this? That's all. You're just going to ask new questions, not to fight it, because that's what you're doing. You're thinking that it should just go away, that you've been doing this work and it should just end. And that is not the evolutionary path that any of you have. You have to take the steps to move through what your journey is. And your journey had something to do with moving through and not resisting yourself in owning who you are. And then if that is meant for your path, then your physical things will start to move away. But the thing that we do know that will happen is that you will feel much better in your consciousness. And that is what we wanted for you all. Thank you.
I went to the mosque for the first time in a while, and during Suratul Fatiha, I started to cry. Then, after morning prayers today, I cried for 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
What is going on?
You were having the memory that we gave you on the message that we gave you on September 11th, a couple of years ago. And if you look at that, your history has never been more important. That was the title of that message. You see, we can call back all of them that we have given you and lead you there. Your history has never been more important. And you went back to your ancestral history and you started to understand that. Because what we wanted you to understand is that all of you, no matter where you came from, you have valuable history. And so you had a recognition of that. And that's what brought the tears to you. And those were tears of joy. And you know that because you felt it. You couldn't understand why you were feeling this immense energy, but it was your remembering of your history and lineage. And that's what we wanted for all of you, because you've moved into a time where so many in your world are telling you that where you came from and what your lives were not valuable. And that is never true. And you have that memory. It doesn't matter what religion or what particular thing, there's value in all of them. But you've made separations and differences, and this is why we said that we wanted you to even move over some the old religious things that you've all made, because you made separation and divisions from so much of that. But you came into this clear awareness in that moment, and we just want you to keep owning that and nurturing it, because it's bringing a greater light to all of the world. Thank you so much.
Just wanting everybody to know that, yes, we are at capacity for questions. We will not be taking any more questions. We did have a couple sneak through the chat, but you all sent them in uh, during your registration process, which is amazing. So if you have a question that is yet unasked, please bring it with you to the next session. Let's continue. Hi, Wilhelm and Roger. So glad to be in your presence today. For the past 2.5 years, I've been on a journey of self-discovery, traveling, experiencing, learning, and growing. I feel more open to the universe than ever and trust what is unfolding for me. But last night, I spoke with my mom, and she's very concerned about my financial future.
Mhm.
After our conversation, I started doubting myself and now
Mhm.
feel regret for past mistakes. She
Mhm.
has a valid point. How do I regroup and move forward? Thank you.
She had a valid point many years ago. She doesn't have a valid point now. And this is what you each must come to. Our messenger has gone through all the financial problems that you each are having now. And so we're telling him to change it because, see, what was happening is that he was coming to a new awareness of what he could bring to the world, but wasn't accepting it. You did the same thing. That's why you were doing the travels. You became open to so much more. Now you're going to start monetizing that wisdom and that knowledge of what you gain. And you cannot rely on your parents, your ancestors, or even those in your family. Our messenger has had the most difficulty from those who have been close to him because they could understand what he was doing or why he was doing it. That's because you're meant to lead your own evolutionary path. Your parents just brought you into the world. They were a facility that brought you in. That's all. And so, but they are meaning, and we're not putting them down. They always want to have you do your best, but they're also always operating from old ideas. They'd have to be. You all are. And so you're meant to bring in something new. And sometimes that takes the courage. Now, you went into the fear. Now, look at that. Your mother told you certain things. And so then you immediately went into the fear, and nothing's going to happen. And we're saying you could turn that around in this moment by saying, oh, wait a minute. No, I've been given something so valuable. Now I'm going to monetize it. I was just afraid to do it before. And we will say that is true for each of you. It's been true for our messenger, and this is why we're changing it. And it's true for all of you, which is why you're listening to us now. And today is the day you're going to start to understand it and move more into the direction of who you are meant to become. Thank you.
Dear Wilhelm, I launched a few business ventures last year, but none of them have made any money. Now I'm working on a kids channel, and for the first time, it feels like I'm on the right track.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like this is my true path, empowering children.
Mm-hmm.
Does this alignment mean I'm finally stepping into my purpose?
Yes, because you felt it. And that's the only thing we want any of you to get, that feeling when you know it. Now you'll doubt it at times, and but you're there. You do know this, but we're going to give you something else because as you move on this path, you're going to still keep questioning it because you're developing something new. You all are. But that's the difficulty as well, because it takes you into this unknown of who you are or what you thought you could do. But yes, you are exactly where you were meant to be. And thank you for being there. Because as we've said, how could you change anything in your world if you're not looking at where it began? You're looking at your world today and thinking all these terrible things are happening. We have all these horrible people. Well, then why don't you become the right person? Why don't you become the great person? Because this is what we've given you. See, you can't change things going out to your outside world until you change them within yourself. And that was the place we wanted you to begin. And you have that awareness. And this is the path that you're on. And it's going to start to unfolding in beautiful ways now. So thank you so much.
I've been in a lot of pain since an accident on December 31st. I haven't been able to write due to a concussion and physical pinched nerves. I've committed myself, I've committed to my spiritual practice and meditation, but my mind feels so forgetful that I can't focus. I promised myself I'd write every day, but I can't seem to do it. I know my spirit team is with me. I feel them even stronger now, but I don't hear words, just noises. I ask for guidance, but nothing comes through. How can I deepen this connection and strengthen our relationship? Any direction would be helpful.
We put it up today and we're going to have you read it, and it's in the message where we said we had our messenger say the day he wrote his $10 million check, he said that was the day that he knew that something had developed that he wasn't trusting and he wasn't believing. And so that was we want you to read that because see, you're at a place now where you're opening up to this new information, but you're doubting it and moving through all of that. However, you're at the exact right place. And all we want you to do is when we send this out, we have put in so many of these as runs of messages, as we call them, which are going to be so much fun for many of you, but you will find yourself in there. And we want you to let go of your judgment. You're nothing's wrong. You're in the right place, and you're going to develop more ability. Now, the healing for all of you is about coming into ownership of who you are. Now, it's going to show up differently for each of you, but it is always the same process. None of you are any separate. Now, the manifestations may look a little different. Some of you have physical manifestations. Some of you won't have mental. I mean, it'd be something that's a little dysregulated, as you said. But this is the time where it's coming back. Well, many of you have said that. This is the time where it's coming back together for all of you. And we're so pleased that this is just working out much better than our messenger could have imagined. He never knows what we're planning and how it's going to come together. We just kind of take over and have him go. And so, but this is like really thrilling because you're all asking the correct questions, because this is the day that you're meant to love and own yourself and become the abundant people you are. And so it's in process. Thank you.
Is telepathy between like-minded and open-minded people real? And if so, how should one approach or act accordingly? Thank you.
You'll trust it on your own terms, and and the other person that you're interacting with, yes, it is real, first of all, but and you will not all access it in the same ways or that, but this is so wonderful. We want you to do something because you're developing another quality. Some of you have this ability to access spirits, and some of you are mediums in places like that. Our messenger, that's not his main deals. He's had 3 of those in his life, but that's not his main thing. But you are opening up to that in a specific way. And so what we want you to start doing is just allowing your imagination to go into those possibilities of what could be achieved by exploring those different dimensions of who you are, because that is what is opening for you now, and it's opening for all of you. But it's about being patient with yourself and allowing the information to come through. Now, the consciousness, which we want you to all understand, we've done this before, but you will get it today. Our messenger does not know what we're doing right now. See, he's in a different place. He has a very, very light awareness, but he could never know the organization of everything that we had given him. You don't know the organization of everything that is within you, and you each then develop something to help others develop that. What we have done with him is given you a new way of accessing your greatest life and your greatest self and your greatest humankind, meaning because it's for all of your civilization. It's not just for one person. He knows that it's for everyone. And that's what we have explained in all the work that we've given you. Thank you so much.
When I hear that we are meant to be well
Mhm.
and can heal everything and anything, I find myself being hard on myself for having
Mhm.
created something that needs healing in the first place. Could
Oh.
you speak on this?
Yes, and so thank you for that, because he'll get our messenger to talk about it. Because we want each of you to know he's been through every physical weirdness, as we like to call it, that any of you could have, and they're gone. And he's 74. So we want you to get that. And we don't want you to judge yourself, because you are developing something that's bringing that awareness to you. Each of you will do something in different ways, but you're becoming aware of this connection between the physical, the mental, the spiritual, all of that stuff. And that's where you effectuate healing within your body and within your world. And you're coming to it. So we're thrilled that that is coming about for you. So what we want you to do is to be patient with it all and just start exploring. And we want you to think of it that way. You're exploring in your consciousness, and give yourself permission to allow that to happen. You see, because none of you, when we talk about consciousness, we want you to understand it's always existing in this moment, but also it's outside of you, because you have to access the next integrated and integrate the next portion that you could accept within your life. And then that starts showing up in your world collectively. And this is what we've been working on. So thank you.
Wilhelm, can you talk about the fear of success? I was recently told that this might be why I'm struggling with committing to the gym and following through on some of my goals. Is there any
Yes.
truth to this, and how can I move past it?
It's all true, and you all have it. So thank you for bringing it up. And it'll show up in different ways. And some of you will have it be, okay, let's say it's going to the gym. Why are you going to the gym? Well, maybe you feel like you're just overweight. Maybe you haven't been taking care, whatever it might be. That is an action that you are then taking, that you're starting to go into ownership of who you are. And then you'll start to do something else that gives you the ability of ownership. We're talking about this because we gave you a message where we said that agency is the thing that you each want, especially during this time in your world. And you are coming about it in a really miraculous way. So we're thrilled about that. And so, as you start owning these different aspects of who you are, you start to notice that your body starts to change. You start to come to a new awareness and clarity about who you are. That is the process. And we want you to think of it that way as well, because it is a process. Because more of you start beating yourselves up and going into judgment because you have a timeline that you have set up, which we have said is arbitrary, and none of you have that because it is happening at the right time in your life. And we just want you to have more trust and faith. Thank you.
All right. And the final question of the session. Why are we naturally given the five senses, but not automatic access to our higher self? For example, we can open and close our eyes effortlessly, but why isn't this connecting to higher consciousness just as immediate and natural?
Because then there would be no place for you to go. There would be nothing for you to do. Now, understand this, and that was the best last question we could have ever that could have ever been asked. Because you exist at a specific time on your linear time in your world where you are meant to do something. It hasn't been done before. It's coming through you. And so then what happens is you become a little afraid of it. You have to take the next step, and then you start to understand it, and then you start to accept it. And you all go through the same process. And then what happens is you start to understand, oh, wait a minute, I'm doing this. Maybe other people could do it. And then you start giving that to others. And then eventually you start saying, oh, wait a minute, more people could become who they could become just by me owning who I am and understanding the process that I had to move through to get there. Now you understand everything that we have given you and why we wanted you to have it today, because you're each at that place on this day where you can take your lives and start to move them to much higher levels of achievement and prosperity and success and love. And we know that you can do it because we've given you the information. We just can't have you believe, as we've also said. But now you will have the grounding points to begin, because we've had our messenger diligently put all of this together because we need him to move on and stop doing what he's been doing, because that's the only thing that happens. You each hold yourselves back. And that's why you don't have the prosperity. You don't have the feeling of fulfillment. You don't have the love. But now you will, because we've given you a way to get there. And this is what we wanted you all to understand, which was the purpose of this day and why we have done everything beginning back in 2021 when we first convinced our messenger to start doing these sessions, because we said, unless you do it, you might have to break. And that's what we're saying to each of you today, because this is the culmination of all the messages that we have given you. And now is the time for each of you to start living this dream life that you is capable, because it's within you. And we love you all so much.